Hello and welcome to this month's District Dialogue on DCTV 23. I'm Mike Mulcair, 3rd District Commissioner and Vice Chairman, and I want to thank you for tuning in. This edition of District Dialogue will be a departure from my past programs. We're going to reach out into the community and learn about an organization that is not part of county government, neither in operation or funding, but very important to our community. Nonetheless, it provides crucial services within our Douglas County community. I'm talking about ShareHouse. Our guests today are Teresa Smith, Executive Director of ShareHouse, and Amy O'Shields, Vice Chair of the ShareHouse Board. Well, thanks for being with us today. What does ShareHouse do?
ShareHouse is a domestic violence intervention center where we provide services to domestic violence victims.
And it must stand for something.
It does. ShareHouse is an acronym that stands for Someone Helping Another Through Education and Resources.
How do, Amy, how do clients come to you? How do they learn about the ShareHouse?
Well, that can be a tricky question. A lot of people within the county are not aware that this service is actually available. So unfortunately, until someone is in a situation where they might need the service, county government, police, hospitals may refer them to the shelter.
Okay, so often unfortunately it's a referral situation.
And it can be a self-referral. The majority of our clients actually come through our emergency crisis line, which is available 24/7 to victims of domestic violence. And a lot of them also is brought to us by law enforcement when they have to go out and provide interventions due to a domestic violence situation in the community.
Now, we hear the term all the time, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what is domestic violence?
Domestic violence is when a person or an individual use a different variety of forces to take control and power and control over an individual. So it's really more of a control issue where they build in fear, and there's various forms of domestic violence. We have physical violence, we have social violence, financial, isolation. All of these come into play when we start talking about domestic violence. There are so many things that can impact an individual when they're in a situation where someone has taken power and control over their lives.
Well, Amy, how do you help people with ShareHouse? How are the clients helped?
The clients are helped in various ways. Many come to us, or I should say to the shelter, with simply just the clothes on their back. They may not have anything with them, and the ShareHouse is able to not only help them with food, clothing, and shelter, but also counseling, education, resources on getting back on their feet, helping with job placement. Many times when mothers come with children need to be placed immediately back in school, and that is something, fortunately, through Douglas County that can happen very, very quickly rather than it being a long process. Sometimes folks come from outside of the county because they do need to totally escape and be in a anonymous,
location.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And so being placed in a school outside of a school system that those children have been in is something that we do receive support on as well.
Interesting. I didn't think about the connection that a perpetrator might use to get at a family would be through the school and through the children, through the children's friends, and that sort of thing. Teresa, again, maintaining confidentiality, but how many sites or locations does Share House, can you share that with me?
I'll be glad to. Of course, we have our emergency shelter, which is a confidential location. We also have what we call our outreach office, and the outreach office we can give that address out, which is 8460 Courthouse Square East. This is where we provide a lot of our services to individuals who are living in the community. Especially those in need of temporary protective orders, where they need some type of legal assistance to place limits on the batterer in regards to contacts to the individual. We also have support groups at that location as well. Children activities, other supports. We do assessments for the Department of Family and Children Services, and we provide a variety of support services through that particular location. We also have transitional housing. Our transitional housing, of course, is a confidential location where we lease units within the community to provide a longer-term placement for families who need to build up life skills so that they can become more independent and become self-sufficient so that they do not have to return to the batterer. In that case, for our transitional housing, those individuals can stay in our housing up to 24 months if there is a need, but we try to work with them so that they are there no longer than 6 or 9 months or 12 months, but it is based upon the needs of the individual families. So we basically have 3 different locations in which we provide ongoing services to victims. Okay,
well, you know, you used a word that a lot of times people don't associate with family violence. They often think of the wife or the female spouse as the victim, but it's the children as well that are victims of these environments. And it sounds like Amy, the relationship with the school system provides security and succor to the young people. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, what I can tell you is that I know getting the children into the school system is swift. That is a very quick process. Our schools in Douglas County are amazing. I came through the school system here. My daughter's in the school system here, and even yesterday, picking my child up for an orthodontist appointment and checking her back in, being able to requesting the proof. I need to see your ID. Our schools are very good in asking for those credentials. So it's not something, hopefully, that maybe another parent. And I want to add, too, it's not just women and children.
You anticipated my next question. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but men oftentimes are also victims of domestic violence. And as Teresa mentioned, it's not just physical abuse. Abuse has many different forms. And sometimes men with children or men alone are fleeing as well.
It's a smaller percentage, I would assume.
It is a smaller percentage. A few years ago, the percentages nationwide was about 85% of domestic violence victims were women. Over the last couple of years, that percentage has rose to about 97% of victims are actually women. But we have done a great job, I think, by educating the community about our services to males. About 10 years ago, when I first started with Share House, we just about didn't provide any services to male victims. And now that has dramatically increased. The majority of the male victims that come to us, though, are usually requesting assistance with temporary protective orders. We offer all of the same services to them. Of course, we cannot house them in our emergency shelter, but we do provide lodging within the community for them or any other appropriate lodging that is appropriate for males. We can provide them with transportation, financial assistance. We offer them our support groups. To date, though, no one has taken us up on our support groups. However, we do have some male counselors, and we have had some of the males to choose to work with those male counselors in regards to what was going on with them in regards to their battering and their abuse situations.
Okay. Shifting gears quite dramatically here, I believe Share House has an anniversary coming up. Would you all talk about that? Amy first?
We do. We're very excited. Share House has actually, this is our 25th year. 25th anniversary.
I heard that.
And so big celebration this year, of course, for being here in Douglas County for 25 years. We have a big push this year campaign. Right now, we've had help through the community in placing posters up for more awareness. So when, you know, folks are around Douglas County and notice a poster that is geared towards the Share House, there are different messages on these. We have signage on the roads now, on billboards, also mentioning Share House and the services. We definitely want to create more awareness so that it's not just a matter of someone needing the service and finding out through those emergency situations, but possibly being able to be referred prior to something tragic happening.
Let me give you a tip.
What's that?
As far as getting information out, and maybe you're already doing this, but when I campaign and other times of the year, just to get information out for people to know that I'm available for any kind of issue, I put flyers in beauty shops, in barber shops, and that might be something y'all could do if you're not already doing it.
You know, we do have some community sponsors. We have folks, business owners around town who have been so gracious in not only donating financially, but donating time. We have folks that have asked for brochures to be left within their environment, but we would love more support. This year especially, financially, we need the support, and the fundraisers that folks do for us are helping more and more with that awareness.
Well, we'll talk about fundraising in a minute, but don't forget the beauty shops now.
Well,
Teresa,
thinking of beauty shops, though, let me just mention this.
Yeah.
Share House is one of the few shelters that participate in what they call the Cut It Out program, which is a program specifically geared for beauty shops and also cosmetic schools. And what we do is that we can go in and educate them about the signs and the symptoms of abuse and how they can approach and provide information to their clientele. And so we are actually listed as one of the providers on the nationwide program as one of those providers for that. And so that really makes a difference because we can really, this is where a lot of people talk about what's going on, or they can notice bruises on the face or in the head, or where the hair has been torn out, these kinds of things. So those are some of the things that we talk about with the beauty salons.
Well, going back to what Amy was talking about, and this being a special year anniversary for Share House, what special events do you have planned, and how can we help promote it?
Well, first of all, it's going to be our breakfast. That's going to be our kickoff. That's going to be at Greystone. And Amy, help me with the date. It's the
February 26th.
I'll be there.
At 7:30 in the morning.
Okay.
This is going to be an exciting event. From what I understand, it is open to the public for attendance. We will also be recognizing 25 outstanding supporters for Share House. Okay, and Greystone is not only hosting it, they are funding this event for us. So big thanks to Greystone Power for that. Well,
I was invited by one of your board members very graciously, and as I said, I will be there. But how many board members are on the Share House board?
Currently, I think we have 17 board members who volunteer their time graciously. We meet on a monthly basis, and they are very active in what we do, and especially building up awareness in the community. But to also piggyback, the next big activity that we have after our kickoff is going to be our 5K event, which is going to be on April the 25th. And we are really wanting the community to come out and participate in that. We are really trying to build up that because it's like walking away the pain. We have a walk that people can walk, and then we have the 5K for those that run. And last year it was a great event. We had over 200 individuals, but not only that, Comcast did a very special project for the runners, is that they were able to fill up shoe boxes for the victims by putting in toothpaste, deodorant, and the basic need items once they completed their run. So it was a really fantastic day, and we ended up with a lot of boxes filled up that we were able to use during the year for the victims that came into the shelter.
Well, I'll be there for that, but don't look for me to do any running.
Well, will you wear a hat? It is the Mad Hatter 5K.
Actually, I've got a couple of neat hats, so I'll wear one of them.
I'm on the committee with Alicia Doherty and Chris Acker, and we're really excited about promoting this 5K that's coming up. So definitely look for more.
April 25th, I think.
April the 25th.
Saturday, April the 25th.
And we'll have the information on the on our program as well. So let's talk about something really serious.
Okay.
And that's, how do you do what you do in terms of funding? It takes money to do these things.
ShareHouse, basically, we operate on grants, basically. So we don't know what we're going to have from one year to the other. But with the funding that we receive is that we actually use that funding to operate the shelter and to provide all of our support services. The other thing, some of our funding requires us to have what we call community support and participation. We have to show as a certified shelter, and also to our federal funders, that we receive 25% of non-federal dollars from our community. Okay. And this is why the fundraising, individual giving, corporate giving is so important to us, because we have to show that we're receiving 25% from the community in order to even maintain the money that we do have. And so we're always looking for new donors, new individuals to provide ongoing support. We get support from our churches in the community, and this helps out a great deal. Most of our grants, unfortunately, is very programmatic specifically. So what we have challenges with is actually getting funding to pay for basic operation costs, paying the rent on the buildings, those kinds of things that are definitely needed. We provide a very comprehensive array of services, and a lot of people are not aware that we provide ongoing transportation to the victims in the community. That's in our residential program and also our transitional program. The intensive case management, we do things like relocation when there's danger for that family to remain here in Douglas County. We have to relocate them sometimes to other counties or out of state. When they're leaving our facility, they need permanent housing. Yeah, when we have funds available, we pay deposits for utilities, first month's and last month's rent. If they're going for employment and need special attire, we can purchase that. If they are enrolling in schools such as CNA training, we will pay for their certifications.
Now, excuse me, what's CNA training?
That's usually certified nursing assistant. Okay. Okay. Right. And so these are the kinds of things that we must do and have available so that we can help these families to transition where they don't feel the need that they must return to their batterers. Because many of them, when they escape, many of them have not been able to work because the batterer has controlled their financial situation. Right. Many of them come with very limited skills because they have not been working. So there are a lot of things that we have to put in place for them. Sometimes they'll come and they may need batteries for their car or brakes. These are some of the things that we will help them with so that they can have some means of transportation to their employment. So we really need a lot of support to keep these services ongoing. And a lot of people are not aware is how much we actually do for the victims that come to us for services.
Along the fundraising line, is it okay for me to plug a couple folks locally that have been able to do some things for us?
Certainly.
But
be careful now, because somebody will want to know why you didn't mention them.
I know. So not to leave anyone out, and Teresa, you may be able to help me with more that I may not be privy to.
Well, perhaps we can put a list on our program.
That would be great too. With the breakfast coming up on the 25th, of course, that will be a fundraising event as well. The 5K, of course, that is a fundraising event as well. We are looking for sponsors and help to make sure that that event runs smoothly, and we do have money to give to ShareHouse, or that will go towards the expenses that Teresa had mentioned. Last year, Auto Buffs here in Douglasville sponsored a car wash, and it was a great event. They want to make it an annual event and have actually approached me already about scheduling a date. We're talking about doing another car wash in August.
I can't wait that long.
Well, I know I can't either. So go see them for sure. But that'll be another big event. Abra, Anchor, and Allstate here in Douglasville also sponsored a coat drive for us starting around Thanksgiving.
Now, you're not going alphabetical, are you? Because the 4 have been A's. Now, you're not going to go through B, C, D, and E?
No.
Okay.
No, but the coat drive was a huge success. And as Teresa mentioned, being able to provide clothing and having these resources for the folks that need it, any support, whether it is a financial donation, physical, clothing donations, any event that can be
Do you ever
sponsored.
need food?
Yes, we provide 3 meals a day for the residents at the shelter. And also snacks for the children. And then we also have people that come in from the community. Say, for instance, if someone is doing a temporary protective order and say that batterer has cut off all of their resources, we have a pantry also at our main office where they can get food items as well.
But unperishable would be preferred, I guess, like canned goods and cereals.
Yes, but we have a freezer at the shelter, so we can take frozen items as well, or things that need to be refrigerated. And a lot of the restaurants really think of us when they're having big catering events. They will take the food that is left over to the shelter. And our residents love that, because usually it's better cooking that some of our residents can actually prepare.
Well,
so they usually enjoy that.
For sure.
Another event that I had not mentioned yet that is a huge support to us is the 4th of July event that follows the parade in downtown Douglasville. The 4th of July event at Hunter Park. It's a ton of family fun. The Douglasville Idol is there. Food sponsors are there, and we have a
politicians.
Everybody
making noise.
Yeah, tons of fun. It's a great time on the 4th of July, and is a huge financial support to ShareHouse at that event. So we have a committee of board members that also make sure that runs smoothly.
Teresa, why do people remain in a domestic violence situation?
This is a question that we really get frequently when we go out and do presentations. There are many reasons that people remain in a violence situation. Research shows that it takes almost 7 attempts for a victim to make a decision to leave. Some of the reasons that they really stay is, first of all, fear of the batterer, lack of resources. Where are they going to go? And also sometimes to keep the family together. It could be their religious belief. And sometimes it's very difficult for them to have other people to understand if they're sharing that information about what is going on. So we tell people that you cannot blame and criticize a victim who has not made a decision to leave a domestic violence situation. We know that from research that once a victim makes a decision to leave, he or she is at risk of losing their life at that particular point, because the batterer is going to realize that they're going to be losing that control. So anything that they are doing in making an attempt to leave is that they must do some very specific planning. We usually tell them to work with someone that they can trust, that they start, giving someone their documents, maybe putting some clothing aside if they have accessibility to money, to also give them money as well. But because of lack of resources, sometimes they are not aware of where they can go. And many times it's really fear. If I attempt to leave, what is going to happen? No one wants to leave, say, their home to go into a shelter. But sometimes when they get to that point and they make that decision, they must be supported. We, as workers in the field, we have to understand, and we are taught, that we can never tell a victim to leave, that we must provide them with the awareness and the education about what is available to them. We have victims that will come to us and they will go to some of our support groups, but they have not yet made that decision that they can leave or will leave. But we want them to be aware that ShareHouse is here and we have resources available to them once that decision is made.
And Teresa, talking about fear, it's also pride and embarrassment.
That my marriage hasn't succeeded, my relationship hasn't succeeded.
Right, if I admit to my friends or my parents or my family that this is going on and I've been hiding it for so long, what are the ramifications of that? So pride could also be a factor.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that, especially in cases where perhaps they say the parents of the woman didn't like the prospective husband or boyfriend to begin with. Her pride perhaps keeps her in that situation. She doesn't want to admit that maybe they were right.
Exactly.
But I know that's, there's so many other factors. Another one is our mobile culture, and the fact that families are so dispersed. We're not any longer 2 or 3 miles from mom and dad like we used to be 30 or 40 years ago. It might be across the country, and that goes to your point of feeling isolated, being isolated.
Correct.
And then with the perpetrator, I'll use that term, enhancing that isolation by different methods.
That's true, and isolation is such a big factor sometimes. We had one young lady that came to us several years ago, and 2 weeks after they were married, he moved her into a rural environment. He took away all of the car keys. When he left the home, he took all of the phones. He will lock her up. She was not able to communicate with family. So you're talking about a lot of extreme situations sometimes in these battering and these control issues. And they're usually humiliated because of the fact that they're embarrassed, because the batterer has told them, this is your fault. This is the reason that this is happening to you, that you're to blame for it.
You did something to make me mad. And,
right.
Yeah. Gosh, it's distressing. Well, let's go to the depths of the issue and talk a little bit about statistics. We don't want to spend a lot of time on statistics, but I think the narrative that you just related really connects with people. But give us some statistics.
We know from research that 1 in 4 individuals is going to be impacted by domestic violence. We know that also every minute about 20 individuals is being battered. Research also shows that the children is also exposed, that over 1.3 million children are exposed to domestic violence in a year. To give you an example, we housed over 400 women and children during 2013. Wow. We provided over 38,000 services to victims of domestic violence. And those services add up. And also at the same time, when you're talking about, statistics, Georgia ranked 12th in homicides where women are killed, and most of these are related to domestic violence. So there are a lot of numbers that we can show where domestic violence is a big issue. And also we have to also understand that these numbers are not necessarily true numbers, because many victims do not report that they are being abused. So these are the numbers of victims that came forth that we were able to document. Our crisis line received over 2,000 calls through our crisis line. The state of Georgia received over 59,000 crisis calls. So you can see that this is definitely not a small issue. It is an issue that impacts our community. It impacts families, it impacts employees. Whenever there's a victim and she cannot maintain her employment, or she's absent as it relates to she's been battered and she cannot report to work. So we're not talking about a small problem, but we are here to provide those services. We hate that we are here because of the issue, but at least we are here to provide those services.
Well, you generated a question. Now there's a state level crisis line, and then our local ShareHouse crisis line. If somebody calls the state, are they referred to Share House, or what tangible things?
Yes,
that the
we
state
are
provides?
actually, our crisis line is actually connected to the state crisis line as well as the national crisis line as well.
Okay.
And so the state crisis line can refer an individual who calls that number to our local crisis line as well.
Teresa, can I ask you to, because I'm not sure on the numbers, and I know that last year we did have a grant for teen dating violence. And that is something, of course, I have a teenager, and that does concern me. The numbers were pretty astonishing when I heard teenagers, 1 in 4, is that right? The same as adults, are affected, and most often teenagers, because of pride or because of fear of sharing that, do not inform anyone of that situation through the teen dating. So that's also something that...
Especially the parents. The parents a lot of times are the last to know in situations like that.
Yes, and then too, teenagers have a different definition of love too. They feel that if a young man is texting them 30 times, 40 times, where are you, what are you doing, they think that that's love. Whereas that is the beginning of the control process.
Absolutely. Amy, I bet there are opportunities for volunteers. What are some things that volunteers do for Share House?
Absolutely. Volunteering is greatly appreciated. We do birthday parties for the kids that are in the shelter, or reading books with the children, volunteering to come and spend time at our fundraisers. We need volunteers at the 5K. We will need volunteers at the 4th of July event. We need volunteers to help with the car wash or coat drives and all of the events that we do. It's not just volunteering at the shelter, but also volunteering for our events that help to fund Share House.
The one thing that I do want to share about volunteering is that if a volunteer is going to have direct contact with our clients and or our children, they must agree to have a background check done, because we work with children. And so that is the one requirement that we have if they're going to have direct access to any of our clientele, that we do background checks.
And an orientation.
Yes.
All right. Well, background checks are, this day and time, are a necessary evil. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. A lot of the programs that the county is directly or indirectly affiliated with, people have to have background checks. So even like master gardeners, you know, believe it or not, because they go into the schools. I bet you accept donations, because you've talked about that a couple of times. Would you, both of you, talk a little bit about what the opportunities are as far as donating? Not just money, but you know.
Not just money. Let me talk a little bit about donations needed for the shelter. The shelter operates like a home. So we need things like linens, towels, twin size linens for the beds. We need cleaning supplies, plenty of cleaning supplies, paper products, anything that you need in a home, we need in the shelter, probably 25 times the amount.
Okay, just think of your house.
Yes, anything you use in your home, we can use within the shelter. We accept clothing, we accept almost anything really except large furniture items, and we cannot accept baby beds unless they're new with the certifications, car seats unless they're new with the certifications. We have to just make sure that they are safe and meet the current safety codes.
What about toys?
We can accept toys.
Okay.
Yes. Just about anything really, except very large items.
Chamber of Commerce has, here in Douglas County, has an angel tree at Christmas time. And on that angel tree, how much was collected from that this year, do you know?
I don't know, but we got tons of donated items. What they also did was Pacific packets, like for infants, babies, toddlers, and those kinds of things that was all packaged up, and we could actually give directly to a family.
Great, great. Well, there's sounds like there's a lot of opportunities to contribute to the Share House and the things that it does in the Douglas County community. How can people contact
They can contact us by contacting our outreach office, which is 770-949-0626. Our emergency crisis number is 770-489-7513. And we also have a website, and that website is www.sharehousedouglas.org. And on the website, we have information where they can also donate through PayPal, Visa, MasterCard. We can do donation that way as well.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Well, it's unfortunate we need the services provided by ShareHouse, but a very fortunate thing that we have such a strong community engagement in supporting their delivery of services to a very vulnerable part of our society. Please think about what you can do to help, be it financial or volunteering. You can change lives for the better. I want to thank Teresa Smith and Amy O'Shields for joining us, and especially want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of District Dialogue on DCTV 23. I'm Mike Mulcair, 3rd District Commissioner and Vice Chairman, Douglas County.